Hello, testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing. Apologize, folks. All right, why don't I just go ahead and put my mug out here. Can you hear me okay? I apologize, I forgot to get the text ready here, and that's actually what I'm doing, so if you'll bear with me for a few moments, I'll get that ready. Well, thought so. Okay. Is that it? Okay, that's it. I can use that. Hold on 1 second. I apologize again. Many happy polylogies. Okay, so what is the name of this show? Art Show something? Yeah, I guess so. And today is what, the 20th? 27th. Okay. It's been 2 weeks. That's right. Yikes. Okay. I don't even know if you can see that. No, you can't. Wow, that's not going to work, is it? Oh, well. Okay, so no text. No text. Sorry, folks. That's what it's like, though. That's the low production values of Access TV. Not, because some people actually was an article in the Chronicle was this past week that it was Belinda Acosta writing about how some people complained to her about the low production values of Access TV, and this is it. This is the low production values at work. I can hear a little bit of feedback in the microphone. Low production values. Not ready with the text. Low production values. Not a $1 million host, low production values. Not white, low production values. But that's Access TV for you. I apologize. But anyways, let's go ahead and get this show on the road. The show is going to be an art show of types. It was a fun show to do. It was a show unlike any of my other shows. This one, I basically digged up a lot of information or my ideas, my opinions on art. So that's what this show is going to be about. Why would I do this? It actually hit me. I was working on the show. Well, let me tell you a little bit about the history of this show. I didn't know what I was going to talk about, and then I said, well, one of the things I decided on was to do like a Kubrick show, just focusing on like Kubrick clips. But then, while I was working on that, I said, okay, well, I don't know exactly what I would talk about Kubrick, and maybe I'd throw in some, my own opinions about art. And so I started based on that. But then I realized, okay, well, and I all my opinions on art, I wrote down everything, and I thought, well, this is the Kubrick stuff is not going to work with it. So that's really how it started. But then today, after I've had everything finished, compiled, then I thought to myself, well, what's the point? Why am I even doing this? And then it just hit me. It was a belief, I guess, because that's the whole reason for the show. Because I want to inspire people who haven't thought about things before, haven't or are stuck in a particular way or stuck in a particular perspective, and they, just need anybody to wake up, out of that. So that's where it started. Or that's really what started for me doing the show. But that's really what motivated me earlier today to do the show. So let's go ahead and get ready with the show. And perhaps once we get to the first clip, I can go ahead and get the character text ready for you. But, okay, so I'm going to be using the term artist quite a bit. And I'm not talking about artist in the sense of like painter. I'm really just combining the whole aesthetic of the individual who devotes their life to looking at things or basically looking at the creative aspects of life. I do want to talk about those particular branches of the arts. Music, I think, is one of the most complex of the art forms because it's just there's so much to know of the notes and the arrangements, getting that all together, and then painting, which to me seems to be it's something that has to be a gift. I would say it's a gift because not everyone can paint, and you look at some of the masterpieces that are out there, especially from the Renaissance, and you look at them and the realism. and you wonder, how in the world, can anybody be this good? And it's definitely inspiring. I mean, and you're impressed by what man can actually achieve, and it's like that with music too. But with modern art, you don't really get impressed like that, especially when you look at like something like Jackson Pollock. Just like a bunch of scribbly lines all over the place. I mean, some 3-year-old kid can do that, with a bunch of Crayolas or something like that. But so I'm much more impressed by the masters than I am with the modern artwork or modern art pieces, But let me go ahead and continue with what I'm talking about here. Literature would be the final one, and I think that to me, I do believe literature is very important, or one of the most important of the art fields, of the 3 major art branches, because it's, to me, it really, reading, writing, it does something to your brain. I think it really. It's something about the intelligence, I think, and I think that's one of the reasons why people try to suppress reading with like slaves. I mean, they weren't encouraged to read. I think it has a lot to do with that. Anytime anybody is well read, they're in a much better position to understand the ways of the world. I think you can look at the world and have great knowledge of the way everything works, but it's only when you really write it down, because there's so much to life's experience. And for me, anyways, and I did a show in January where I talked about how this is going to be a year of the pen for me. But when you write stuff down, you have a catalog there. You can refer back to it because you experience so much, and then when you write it down, you refer back to it. You're like, wow, I forgot about that. And you have all this experience you can write down, and then somebody else, you could share that with somebody else. And sometimes, again, if you're combining with the whole arts, music, and painting, there's the whole idea, the concept of the audience. So you have the artist who is expressing himself, but you have the audience also in mind, somebody to actually look at that and appreciate it. I guess that's all really I had to say about that, but... let me go ahead, and while we're talking about art, let me just talk about the idea of muses. Muses are the Greek goddesses, the 9 daughters of Zeus, and each muse had a particular, aspect. It was arts and sciences. One was like the goddess of astronomy, and one was like the goddess of epic literature, epic poetry. One is the goddess of music. So that's the whole idea of muse. And I think that... experience is like a muse, but I think you also have the individual who can inspire you to actually be great or to do great things. So you have people who can represent the idea of a muse, but also experience is a muse. It works in that capacity. Sorry about that. I mean, I have to really get everything ready here, but. What do I have to say about that? I apologize. But, okay. But I guess it really, with muse and experience and how that really works, I guess I would use the example of like a monkey. You can like train a monkey to like write a love song, but unless he has the experience, and that's why I was talking about experience as a muse, unless he has the experience behind him, the pain of love, the beauty of love, unless that monkey's actually experienced that. I mean, you could train a monkey to do that, but there's no heart. There's no heart to what he's written. Or there are no tears. I mean, I think somebody could look at it and be impressed. I mean, there's the whole concept of, you're getting 100 monkeys together and writing something. Eventually you'll get some Shakespearean play. But, maybe, but you have the idea of the artist using experience, using that pain and expressing that through poetry. And so I would say experience is a muse in that sense, because with the whole idea of the monkey, you can train him. But unless you've actually experienced it, I mean, there's really nothing there. Now, I also want to talk about synchronicity. There's like a synchronicity effect. So there's like a timeliness. And when I say timeliness, I mean, I think art, what is that commercial? Orson Welles says, I shall serve no wine before it's time. But it's like that. To me, I do believe that there are certain concepts, certain ideas that the artist brings about that really, as a society, when I say society, I'm talking about the world society, or basically, those cultures that really embrace progression, because I think there's a cause and effect thing happening here, but it's a little bit too much to go into right now. What I'm really describing, I guess, are those cultures that really embrace art, and when you have a timeliness, because really, when you're talking about art, you do have to, I guess, talk about humanity and technology, and talk about the progression that we're achieving as humans, because technologically, as we progress, you do see I guess what do you call it? There's a what do you call that? Symbiotic relationship between technology and the arts, and I think that it just seems to me to be that way. But what I'm really trying to say here is that if you have these artistic works that seem to me that they happen when we're ready for them to happen. It seems that there are several artists that work on these concepts at the same time. So you have these ideas being worked at. So you have one artist working on this, what it appears to him to be like a new idea, but then you have someplace 1,000 miles away, you have like another artist working on the same thing, and you see that happening too, like in several times throughout history. So it seems to me, and it's my opinion, that as far as like art goes, it seems to me that there's a timeliness about it. As a society, we're ready for it. So that idea is presented to us, and I think if the artist himself or herself isn't ready to quite embrace or actually produce that particular artwork, it's my belief that there's going to be somebody else that's going to fill that person's shoes. Okay, so let's see here. I guess we're talking about art. I want to get comfortable here because I don't know, for some reason I do feel a little, I guess. And let me tell you what happened today. I wanted to do this show, and I left the house, and it was like 8 o'clock, and I realized I had left my show. I had left all the notes from my show at the house, so I had to go all the way back to my house, and I was like a mad dash, and then I come all the way over here, and I have to set up and do everything. So it's, if I'm a little unhinged, that's why. Plus the low production values. I mean, you can't leave that out. But I did want to apologize for this. I mean, I really do think it was the idea was a really good show. It is a good show. It will be a good show. Okay, positive thinking, belief, because that's what it's all about. I mean, it's about belief. I mean, believing you can actually do it. So here you are watching that happen. So at this moment, I have actually embraced the show, because before it was always iffy. I had this negative outlook about it, but now I have made the change. Here we go. 14 minutes in the show. I've embraced it. I'm ready to go. Let's go. Okay. So let's talk about the dream world. I do think that it's an interesting concept. As far as I know, I've dreamt about things that when you wake up, you think, well, that'd make a really good movie, or that'd make a great story. One dream that I really that I'd like to talk about. It's just I was in a bookstore, and I was looking for books about like sea tales, just something about the ocean. And so I get to the section in the dream, and it's the bookshelf is like eye level. So I'm like looking at the books, and they're the ocean books, or like sea tales. And the books, they have this like wave effect going on, and so it's like really interesting. So all of the spines of the books are all they have like this wave thing happening, and then water, like when you get the book, like water splashes. So it's just really interesting for like a dream to do that. And there are several dreams that are like that, but I do think that the dream world, that's something. When you're talking about art, I think you have to talk about the dream world a little bit too. Maybe in the sense that maybe there's like another dimension you're tapping into, or just the subconscious itself, how it's revealing these ideas or these strange ideas to you. Because I think in the conscious world, or in the real world, as a human being, when we're conscious, or basically when we're thinking about things and creating things, I mean, you have something at work there. I mean, you're trying. It's an effort. You have the technique behind you to actually create an experience that you're using. But then when you're talking about the dream world, you have something else happening altogether. So I just wanted to throw that in there because it's just an interesting topic which is something interesting for me to bring in there, the whole concept of dreams and how they can influence, work like that. But when also talking about dreams and the waking world and the conscious mind, you also I also want to talk about drugs, because sometimes you have people, like James Joyce. I use him, and I really, maybe I shouldn't use him, because to me he seems like one of these artists who seem to be like a drunk writer. But maybe I'm just associating that with Irish people, and maybe that's bad for me to do that. Yeah, okay, so I shouldn't do that. But you know what I'm talking about. Oh, a good writer for that would be Bukowski, Charles Bukowski, because he was a drunk writer. Barfly, one of his classic works. So here you have an artist who is relying on a chemical to alter his mind, so he writes in a particular way. So one of the things I would have to ask is, if you have a drunk writer, you have a drunk artist, you have two people. I mean, isn't the artist good enough to create a work without having that chemical, or do you have to rely on the chemical to do that? So it seems to me almost, and it seems amusing. It almost seems like a joke when I say this, but really it's not. I mean, it almost seems like, when you have somebody writing a whole piece or creating a whole piece while they're drunk, you should have it like written by the drunk Bukowski, or like painted by the drunk, so-and-so, because you have like these different, mindsets at work. Me personally, I don't like the concept of drugs, because I don't like to be altered. I like to come to my own conclusions without the aid of some chemical. One of my favorite quotes is by Salvador Dali, who said, I don't need drugs, I am drugs. So I like to push my mind in a way where, I'm on drugs without having to do drugs. But I do also, as far as like that goes, as an artist, I think people are concerned about, the mind, because as an artist, you're using the mind, you're relying on the mind. So I think one of the fears would be like losing your mind, or and I'd say losing your mind in the sense of going crazy, but in the sense of like Alzheimer's or something like that, And one of the things that I've thought about sometimes are things like, what if as you get older, you lose some of the power or the brain power you had to actually create a work? Are ideas more potent when you're younger? I mean, do you have more? I mean, is it easier to write when you're younger, or not? Or when you get older, maybe you have more experience behind you, but would you have written it better if you were younger with that same experience? So little things like that I think about. Or does it even matter? I mean, you do have also, but one of the things I want to say is like healthy eating. That's one of the things I like to do, is just like eat healthy, thinking that if you're living right and you're eating healthy, then basically you're in a position, or physically, like it's almost like somebody in sports. If you're like a baseball player, you want to keep physically fit to perform your craft, to properly perform your craft. So I almost think in that sense, when you're eating right, you're doing things right for your body, so you can perform right. But then also think about the ascetic writer, a person who is like a Buddhist or something like that, who is not eating anything, but yet is writing all of profound concepts. So I don't know. Again, these are just my thoughts on art. It's an art show. Sorry, I don't have any text here, but that's basically what I'm talking about. I'm just sort of talking about my ideas of art. Now, what would I talk about here? So the next thing I guess I would talk about are the evil influences of art. Now, when I say the evil influence of art, what I mean is like somebody like Charles Manson. When Freeman, Charles Manson, when you have that hippie person, the individual who abuses art, the individual who and Charles Manson is a really great example, because here you have a guy with like the hippie, he's like yeah man, I'm all arty, I'm a hippie, follow me, whatever, he's like writing songs, Beach Boys are recording his songs, and so then, but he's actually he's psychotic, and you have the whole Manson family thing, and then they do the whole, and so anyways he listens to the Beatles' White Album, and well, this is what's, I guess it's what is in the book called Helter Skelter by Bugliosi, the prosecuting attorney for the against Manson, the whole Sharon Tate business. I don't really want to belittle the whole Sharon Tate affair, but Manson supposedly Manson was influenced by the Beatles' White Album. He thought the Beatles were angels. Prophets and Prophets or Angels, and the White Album was about it was about race relations, about how there was going to be a race war between whites and blacks. And so what he did was he went, we wanted to instigate the whole race war by killing Sharon Tate and blaming it on blacks. But there you would see a case, I guess, of somebody using art in a bad way. I guess another obvious one, are like these assassins, like Hinckley, who was in love with Jodie Foster in Taxi Driver, and so he wanted to assassinate. Who was it that Hinckley tried to assassinate? Was it Reagan? Okay, so yeah, it was Reagan, and he's like has this fixation on Jodie Foster, Taxi Driver. So there you have the. I know sometimes you have that, when a work of art, you have that people like to blame as you have like a cause and effect thing happening where they like to blame the art for particular bad behavior. I think when you look at like rap, negative rap, I think you definitely can see that happening too. When you have women, you have these derogatory, misogynistic terms for women, as hoes or whatever, and also the videos when you have them, portrayed with their, shaking their butts and like thongs, on the TV. I mean, when somebody looks at that, I mean, are they going to think about treating women with respect? So there you have a case of art, an evil influence of art, I would say. Now, I mean, I guess one interesting concept too is like the Greek idea of the siren, the lure of the siren. She had the siren is this. I don't know if she's a goddess. I guess something like that. And it's in the Homer's Odyssey where Odysseus is on a ship, and they're lured by the siren. So you have this idea of like art, luring somebody, tempting somebody to their doom. I think there's something about that too. I mean, I think that people make a choice, and sometimes art could function in that way. Not that it's deliberately functioning in that way. I mean, just something like Taxi Driver, which I think is a pretty good movie. Robert De Niro, Travis Bickle, and then Martin Scorsese directed. I think it's like a really good movie, but somebody could look at that and just go because it's not necessarily that the movie itself is encouraging assassinating a political figure, but the movie, I guess, functioned as a siren because and the individual was tempted by it, but the individual has a choice to make, whether to be tempted by that particular dark aspect of a work. But I guess that's something I would say as far as when we're talking about the evil influence of art. And I guess I just wrap that up by saying does art imitate life, or does life imitate art? And does the artist create for himself, or does he create for others? Or does the artist create for others, or does he create for himself? So what I'm saying there, is that sometimes you have the artist who is basically creating a work for himself. I mean, there's nothing really more than that about it. But then you have an artist who's deliberately creating a work for others to see and to watch. So, in the sense of the evil influence of art, if you have an artist who is writing specifically to influence somebody to do something bad, well, I wouldn't say that's much of an artistic ideal. But okay, so let's see here. Where am I here? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and show a clip here, and it's a real short clip, but here the clip I'm about to show you. It's an interview with Seth MacFarlane and George Lucas. This is actually off the it's just an extra on the DVD Family Guy. Blue Harvest, Star Wars, Family Guy, But anyways, what I'm going to show, it's a real short clip, but Seth MacFarlane is asking George Lucas, well, why are you letting us, do this? And George Lucas' response is really great because, he's just saying, look, I went to film school and, we just encouraged everybody. It's not this, this whole attitude, well, we're in competition where I must destroy you. And so let me show this clip, and I'm going to go ahead and comment about that after the clip. Okay, let's see here. What am I doing wrong here? What in the world am I doing wrong? Okay, so this should work, but it's not working. There we go. Okay, here goes the clip.
Your company was supportive from the start. Why are you guys so much nicer than everyone else? Why did you allow us to do this?
Well, I think ultimately we don't have to be mean. You know, we're not really that competitive. I came out of film school with a lot of friends, and we all helped each other. We helped each other in our careers, and we just never were competitive about anything. We were always competitive in a friendly way to say, you know, like playing cards or, you know, dunking baskets to say, okay, you're so smart, try this, you know. And so it's that kind of competition, not the, you know, you must be destroyed and you must fail so I can win and all that sort of thing.